In this lesson, we're going to be breaking down the guitar scales that are located down near the nut of the guitar that are used to create these open type of bluegrass G licks. And several times throughout this lesson, we're going to be referring to the bluegrass scale chart that I have directly below this video here at countryguitaronline.com. And I spent a lot of time on this chart, and what it does is it puts together, it shows all the notes that are commonly played in these bluegrass and country sounding open G licks. And you can kind of visualize them all on the fretboard, and they're all located down here near the nut, and you can do all these awesome hammer-ons and pull-offs to the open strings. So really cool sounding licks. And this chart's going to be color-coded so you can really make some sense out of it and hopefully understand where these notes are coming from and really dissect these scales so you'll be able to create your own licks in a jam type of situation that sound really good. And so that's what we're working towards in this lesson. I'm going to show you some of the techniques that I've kind of developed over the years that help me when I'm improvising and creating my own country and bluegrass lead guitar solos. And so anyways, these licks can be played over any song that's in the key of G typically, and the key of G is just such a common key for country and bluegrass. And very common chord progression in the key of G, like everybody knows, is G, C, D chord progression. And today we're going to be focusing on standard open tuning with no capos. But the good thing is, once you learn these open licks without any capo in the key of G, right down there, you can clamp on with your capo anywhere on the neck, and you can play the exact same licks in a different key just farther up the neck. Really common technique in country and bluegrass. So capo is used all the time, but it's just the same type of fingerings used for these open licks. So looking at this bluegrass scale chart, basically what we got going on here is that we have 4 pentatonic scale positions crammed into this one section on the guitar neck, starting at the nut and then stopping at the 6th fret. And so there's 4 pentatonic scale positions shown here, combined all into this one chart. And if you're not familiar with these scale positions, write these down and learn these. I would recommend learning these scale positions separately. And then when you combine them all together in this chart, you start creating your country and bluegrass open licks, it'll make a lot more sense to you. And so the first position that we're going to be talking about, that I think is the most important position when you're playing these open licks, is the 5th position of the G major pentatonic scale. And you'll see on this chart, the 5th position of the G major pentatonic scale, it's shown up here at the 12th fret. But we're going to be playing it an octave lower down here at the nut. So we can play all those nice open G licks and stuff. And the next scale we got right down here at the nut is the 5th position of the G minor pentatonic scale, which is going to sound like this. So first one was the major pentatonic scale, right there, and then here's the second one again. So you can tell they're very similar, both right here at the nut, but slightly different, and they sound very good when they're blended together. The 3rd scale we're going to add in is a little farther up, around the 3rd fret, and it's the 1st position of the G major pentatonic scale. Sounds like this. And then finally, the last scale we're adding in is the 1st position of the G minor pentatonic scale. Sounds like this. And so you can see how all 4 of those scale positions overlap right here from the nut all the way to the 6th fret. Basically, this bluegrass open lick scale chart combines these 4 pentatonic scale positions into one chart, and then it adds in a few extra major scale notes that are commonly played in these bluegrass open licks. And all the major scale notes they're all going to be in black in the chart. And then finally, it adds in a few extra notes from the blues scale that you see highlighted in blue. And the blues scale notes, they add a little extra flair to the scale. I think that's kind of those are my favorite notes to hit when I'm playing these bluegrass open licks. It's throwing some of these blues scale notes. And so you can experiment with playing these notes in different ways to see what sounds good, and just improvise as you go along. And I'll have some tracks here that you can practice along with that I like to play with, just so you can get some practice creating your own solos. So let me show you all some of the techniques that I like to use when I'm creating my own bluegrass open licks in more of like a jam type of situation, where I'm just trying to jump right in and play a lead guitar solo over someone else's rhythm guitar part. With no rehearsal, I'm just creating the licks on the spot, but it's because I kind of know the framework of these scales right down here near the nut. And so once you get it down, you have a little practice creating these licks. You can just mix them up and play these notes in different order and really create some awesome sounding open lick bluegrass solos right there on the spot. And so I guess for starters, the main lick that I use pretty often is the most common G lick used in bluegrass music. It's this one right here, and if you may already know it, but if not, you should learn it. It sounds really good, slower or faster. So you don't want to overuse that one, but it's a really good lick that you can use to maybe end certain chord progression phrases, or kind of lead into the next sections of the song and stuff like that. And you can change it up in different ways, like that. I'm not going to completely break that down, but just know that there's different ways to play that standard G lick right there. And so anyways, back to how I think about improvising and creating these solos. When I'm creating these licks, I usually focus on the major scale notes shown in black below on this bluegrass scale chart. So the major scale notes in black are really, really important when you're playing these bluegrass licks, because they're very melodic sounding and they go very well right along with the chord progression. And so really focus on those notes a lot. You can, in between those major scale notes, I like to just sprinkle in some of these minor pentatonic scale notes, and because it sounds really good when you just kind of add a hint of the minor pentatonic scale note in between. So here's the major. I'll kind of try to give you all an example. So there's the major, oops, and then add in some minor. Oops, I'm really butchering this, but you get the idea. Major, minor. So that's real cool to do. And I also like to throw in that blues note here and there, and so that's highlighted in blue that you can see. And it sounds real good when you add that in here and there. Major, minor, blues note. All sorts of stuff you can do. There's real no wrong way to play these notes, but you kind of get an idea, maybe from what I was just playing there, how you can change it up and use hammer-ons and pull-offs to and from the open strings to get a really cool country and bluegrass sound. So let's get a little more specific on some of the techniques you can do to spruce up these open licks a little bit when you're improvising.